It's just the second race of the season and we are seeing drama and action all over the grid. While some teams were happy at the 2023 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, some teams had to leave through their nightmares. Definitely Jos Verstappen doesn't look that happy though. So let's see what happened at Jeddah and how teams performed and also why fans are raging at the latest FIA decision. Let's begin with Verstappen, who got the driver of the day at Jeddah. Coming into this Grand Prix, everyone thought it was going to be a weekend dominated by both Red Bulls. However, a shocking thing happened in the qualifying. In Q2, Verstappen was blasting through the sectors when suddenly his drive shaft broke. Unable to set a faster time, he ended up getting knocked out in Q2 and started the race from P15. Also, Leclerc received a 10th-place grid penalty for replacing an engine component, which meant he started from 12th, just ahead of Verstappen. Race started and we saw Verstappen blast past every other car on the grid. In fact, he was so fast that by the time the race was half completed, the Dutchman was already behind Perez and lapping 1 second quicker than any other car on the grid. I gotta say, Red Bull has made a demon of a machine in that RB19. Unfortunately for Verstappen, he couldn't make it past Perez for the win due to a driveshaft issue once again in the final stage of the race, and eventually ended up at P2. But the Dutchman and his father aren't happy at all with this amazing drive from the back of the grid to the front. I mean, you can certainly see it on Jos Verstappen's face. Verstappen said after the interview, "I recovered to second, which is good, and in general the whole feeling in the team is happy. But personally I am not happy. I am not here to be second, especially when you are working very hard back at the factory to come here in a good state and making sure everything is spot on. When you are fighting for a championship and it looks like it is just between two cars, you have to make sure the two cars are reliable. We have to do better. Absolutely, a cleaner weekend would be nice. Looks like there is going to be an internal battle in the Red Bull garage. I hope it doesn't turn out anything like the Mercedes in 2016. Now that it's out of the way, let's talk about Alonso and how the whole FIA fiasco happened. The Aston Martin looked really great from the get-go, taking a momentary lead in the starting stage of the race until Perez regained the first place and continued on for his 5th career win. Seeing both the charging Red Bulls, Alonso was fighting for the last spot on the podium, and that's exactly what the Spaniard got. Fernando Alonso finished in P3, I mean he was, and he was not. Alright, it's confusing, I know, so let me break it down for you. Alonso was too far left at the starting box on the grid. For this, FIA usually hands out a 5-second time penalty. They did the same for Ocon in the Bahrain GP during the first safety car, which I don't know why they called out in the first place, but let's ignore that for a second. Alonso pitted for new tires and also served his 5-second time penalty. He came out ahead of Russell and kept his podium place until the end of the race. During the whole time, the FIA didn't mention anything about penalties not being served correctly. It was until the last few laps when we heard on team radio that Alonso might still be given a penalty due to the rear jackman placing the jack on Alonso's car before 5 seconds were over. In normal cases like Ocon, where the same thing happened, the FIA gave Ocon a 10-second penalty for not serving the first one in the right way after just 1 lap. This time around, FIA took the whole race to hand out a penalty which should have been said to Alonso after just 1 or 2 laps. Keep in mind, Alonso pitted on lap 16 of the 50-lap race. They had 34 laps to let Alonso know of the incorrect serving of the penalty. So at the podium after celebrations and everything, Aston Martin were told that they get a 10-second time penalty. And now Russell, who was around 5 seconds behind Alonso, is the podium finisher. I mean, what a great job managing the race by the FIA. First a safety car that was not really needed, and now this whole mess. But it doesn't stop there. Just a few hours later, Aston Martin appealed with the proof and videos of other teams doing the same thing over and over again and not being penalized. FIA looked at all the evidence and took back the penalty and handed out the P3 trophy back to Alonso. I don't know what is more of a joke, Ferrari's strategy in the last season or FIA's decisions, which can be changed by almost anyone. I feel bad for Russell having to hold the P3 trophy just for a moment before it is snatched away once again. To sum up the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Red Bull's got a dominant car, Aston Martin is the new challenger, Mercedes are improving bit by bit, Ferrari are still the same, and McLaren just can't seem to figure out how to stop being the new Williams. Well, that's all for today's video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this. See you in the next video.